You're watching NBC 41 News Nightcast.
The day after Halloween is known to Catholics as All Saints' Day. A number of special masses celebrated across the metro tonight, a holy day set aside to honor those believed to have died and gone to heaven. But some people believe their loved ones are sometimes nearby. Tonight we go in depth into life after death.
She's a very kind, soft-spoken woman. I never heard her have an argument really with anyone.
Nobody paid a whole lot of attention to May Combs, an old woman who died in the 1960s. When she is remembered, it's for little things: her Nelson Eddy records, her lavender scent, and a special interest in a little girl next door named Stephanie.
From a little girl's eyes, she was pretty close to perfect.
In fact, Mrs. Combs was next door during a night that molded Stephanie in a frightening way, the night her parents found themselves in the path of the Ruskin Heights tornado.
And I remember my grandmother being frantic. I was 5 at the time, so that was really scary and very traumatic.
Stephanie's parents survived, but her deep fear of storms was born. Mrs. Combs would be there to help years later, long after she was dead. Stephanie was a teenager staying with friends when a storm came up in the middle of the night.
The thunder was very loud. The lightning was very bright.
Stephanie panicked.
I was afraid.
She started to hyperventilate.
All of a sudden smelled the scent of lavender. It sort of took me by surprise, but I immediately connected that with her. I felt her presence in the room. I knew that she was there. She was there to tell me that everything was going to be all right, that there was nothing to fear.
Stephanie's experience is what some call after-death communication, or ADC. Thousands of people say they, too, have received comfort, advice, or warnings from their loved ones from beyond the grave.
The most common experience is feeling the presence.
Bill Guggenheim has been tracking after-death communication for years. He wrote the book Hello from Heaven, full of first-hand stories of mysterious happenings.
You have telephones ringing and hearing a person at the other end of the line who has died, and having a one- or two-way conversation with them. We have a whole chapter of telephone ADCs.
And there are more.
He was a huge Cardinals fan.
Judy Roberts' 23-year-old son Tommy was a sports nut, especially when it came to the St. Louis Cardinals. He was on his way home from a game when he lost control of his car in the rain and crashed. Judy's daughter broke the news at the school where Judy was teaching.
And she said, "Mom, something has happened to Tommy." And I said, "Not dead." And she just nodded.
Strange things started happening almost right away. A scent experienced in a car on the way to plan Tommy's funeral.
My sister in the back seat said, "Do you smell Mother's perfume?" And by golly, we did in that car. And it was Taboo, which was kind of a 40s perfume, and very distinctive.
Judy took that as a sign her deceased mother was with them and with Tommy. But her biggest comfort came from the funeral itself, in the middle of the priest's eulogy.
He said, "Tommy lives." And he stopped to get control of himself, and this bird broke into song, and everybody in the church could hear it. I mean, it was loud. And some people were actually almost irritated by the fact that the bird sang very loudly through the whole rest of the funeral. When I got home, a high school friend called me, and she said, "Did you hear the bird?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And she said it was a cardinal.
Religious leaders often express concern about ADCs, especially when the bereaved turn to psychics or mediums. But Bishop Raymond Boland of the Diocese of Kansas City St. Joseph says he has no doubt those we love during life can contact us after they're gone.
The bonds of love go beyond that, and that makes that possible. So it is possible, for example, for somebody who dies to intervene somehow, not in dramatic ways quite often, but we become aware of the presence.
And if you do feel the presence, know that they're trying to communicate with you.
Guggenheim pays his own way to travel the nation, conducting seminars like this one with a group called Compassionate Friends. for parents who have lost children.
Physical phenomena is a very large category.
Guggenheim invites others to share their stories, and the tales are often amazing.
They give us signs. They do.
This mom says she saw her son not long after he died in a hill jumping crash.
And he just says, Mom, I love you.
Another mother feels her daughter's presence.
And after she had passed away, and I haven't told anybody this. In fact, I just told my best friend tonight because I thought I was next. I was laying in bed, and I was facing away from the side where she usually slept. And I swear to you, she got in bed with me.
And this young mom heard her lost little boy sneezing, then watched as his favorite toy started playing by itself.
I got this sensation like Tanner's still here. He's watching out for me.
While you may be watching this skeptically, those who've had these ADCs have no doubt, even if others think they're crazy.
I think inside myself, I am so grateful when they patronize me like that they haven't experienced that loss, and I hope they never do.
Real communication from the other side or the product of grief. Of course, no one can prove either case. But if ADCs are real, it's nice to know someone still cares for us out there.
The I who I am continue. We go on. We're eternal. We like to say life and love are eternal.
After-death communication. Judy Roberts has had many instances where she's had contact with Cardinals, birds, and the baseball team. Her story was in the Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul book, and she got quite a response from it, too.
And you have had a personal experience of your own?
Well, we even just started the whole story in the beginning, where all kinds of mysterious, odd things that happened at my brother's house the day after my father's funeral. So
wow.
It's been a real interesting little bit of research over the past several months.